Covetous Cove is a place where I think of the old saying, knowledge is power. And I've always thought that's only really half of the saying. In my opinion, knowledge is power only when it gets into the hands of people who can do the most good with it. So when I think of Covetous Cove, I'm thinking of management practices where that encourage or reward or promote management holding on to information and power and showing a lack of delegation when doing the opposite, when sharing, when delegating, when empowering others is actually going to lead to better outcomes for the people we serve and better outcomes for those staff. For example, questions I would encourage organizations to ask that we constantly are asking ourselves is, what's the type of information that managers need to be able to effectively do their job? What's the sort of information that direct support professionals need to be able to do their job? Things like, what about financials and budgetary information? What are you sharing and with whom? Who needs what sort of financial information? What about policy development? Who's involved in policy development? How are policy changes, how are they done? Are they done by a very small group of individuals? Are they done by a larger group of individuals? Are people who are most directly impacted by the policy changes, how are they, or are they even involved in the policy changes? In our organization, one of the ways we've tried to avoid Covetous Cove is by having a very large leadership team that has a pretty democratic sort of decision-making structure. So we actually have 25 leadership staff on our leadership team that basically handles all the operations within our organization. That might seem really big and pretty unwieldy, but it actually works very, very effectively. We have a basic democratic system that's based on a majority vote to help make sure that we don't inadvertently violate law, regulation, or our internal policies. Our vice president of operations, who facilitates these meetings, has the ability to, if there was a vote that she was concerned about, she could veto it or pull myself in as the CEO to take a look at. But that sort of veto, I think, has happened once in maybe the 7.5 years that we've been operating. And what that does is that brings in a lot of different perspectives. And what we found is the more diversity we can bring into our leadership team, the more perspectives, more angles we can look at a situation or a problem, the better solution we've been able to develop. So it all comes back to, again, knowledge is power, but it's really only power when it's shared with the people who can do the most good. So I would encourage organizations to look at how are they sharing that knowledge? How are they sharing that power? And are they really putting it in the hands of the people who can do the most good?